Welcome to Historical Veracity, where history meets investigation. You're watching Land of History, Israel's Conquest and Biblical Archaeology Unveiled. Today, in episode 4 of our 9-part series, we delve into the archaeological documentation of the conquest wars against the Canaanites. Join us as we uncover the layers of history, sift through the sands of time, and reveal the truths hidden beneath the surface. Stay tuned as we explore, analyze, and discuss the fascinating archaeological evidence that connects us with the ancient past. Let's embark on this historical journey together. Ready? Let's dig in. The Conquest Wars, the archaeological documentation of the conquest wars against the Canaanites. Joshua in the book of Joshua 11:11 recounts that Hazor was burned with fire. There is clear archaeological evidence for the destruction and burning of Hazor, including the demolition of the idolatrous temple artifacts. It is clear that this was an act of Joshua. There are also signs of a nomadic settlement after the destruction that did not last long, followed by a period of desolation until the time suitable for its rebuilding during the days of Solomon. Finkelstein tried to question the dating of the destruction layer to the time of Joshua, but a repeat expedition by Amnon ben Tor confirmed the old dating and the fact that the conquerors destroyed statues and idolatry symbols. Later, remnants of the Canaanites reoccupied Hazor and cooperated with Sisera, the great commander. Judges 4:23 describes how Jabin, king of Hazor, was subdued before Deborah. Aharoni writes, "In Hazor, which was totally destroyed in the Canaanite period, a steep decline in living standards is felt, likely due to Deborah's war and the Israelites' control over the roads leading to Hazor, its daughters and its fields." Sisera commanded the army of Jabin, king of Hazor, mentioned in Judges 4:2. This reminds us of the list of Ramses, which mentions a group called Sisera living in the western Galilee. Joshua 12:16, and Judges 1:22, describe the conquest of Bethel by the sons of Joseph. Archaeological findings indicate that Bethel was conquered by the sons of Joseph in the middle of the 10th century BCE through burning and destruction, and alongside it, a new poor settlement was founded. The idea of conquering the Hittite city with the help of finding the hidden entrance, as described in the book of Judges, matches what we know about Hittite cities having hidden entrance tunnels like in Hattusha. This culture disappeared in the 12th century. In the book of Joshua, the ban on Jericho is mentioned, despite it being a strategically located, fertile, and fortified city. It was banned and prohibited from being inhabited or rebuilt. Traces of this ban are noticeable in archaeology, as the excavator of the site writes, "Jericho stood deserted from its inhabitants for about 450 years. The influence of natural forces on the city, which was the most destroyed by estimation, likely caused most of the exposure that the excavations have proven with many evidences." In the book of Joshua, a unique event is recounted that took place during the battle at the descent of Beth Horon, Joshua 10:11, and the Lord threw down large stones. Indeed, in the field, large stone boulders are seen in the area of lower Beth Horon, lying at an angle in the field, and it is noticeable that they are not in their natural place. In the area there are signs of breaking, volcanic activity, reports of hot springs. In Joshua 9:11, the covenant formula between Joshua and the Gibeonites is mentioned. This formula parallels declarations made between conqueror and conquered in those times. The espionage methods of Joshua in Jericho, Joshua 17:15, have parallels in those days with the warfare methods of the Egyptian army in the days of the war of Ramses II with the Hittites. In Judges 18, the migration of the tribe of Dan northward is recounted. The description of the tribe of Dan's migration northward apparently recently received interesting archaeological evidence. Pottery typical to the central region is found only in the inheritance of Dan. Collard-rimmed jugs of a southern type were found in Dan in the north, while such jugs are almost not found in other sites in the Galilee. A. Biran saw this as evidence for the migration of the tribe of Dan from the south to the north, in accordance with the biblical tradition. Abraham Malamat also concludes, "The excavations conducted at Tel Dan proved that in the early 12th century the ownership of the city changed. In Joshua, the initial inheritance of Dan is outlined, and indeed there is a notable resemblance between this list of cities and the list of cities in the kingdom of Gezer in the Amarna letters. At no later stage was there a way to know about the boundaries of this inheritance recorded in Amarna as a single unit. and already at an early stage it was emptied of the Danites and was populated by Philistines and other tribes from the region. Regarding the event of sun stands still over Gibeon and moon in the valley of Ajalon, Velikovsky in his book Worlds in Collision brings many evidences from all over the world for a day long twice as long as a regular day. Recently, an explanation was proposed by Israeli researchers, linking the event to an extraordinary solar eclipse. See here and in the attached movie, although this explanation does not match the precise description in the prophet. The inhabitants of the land and the region. The literature of the settlement gives us a regional picture, which as far as we can trace it is accurate and precise. Joshua 10:2 says, "For Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities." And indeed, archaeological findings teach us that indeed during the settlement period, a new Amorite kingdom arose in the mountainous area, headed by Gibeon. Joshua 19:6, mentions Saruhan. This city was not known later until it was found in the writings of Amos I, and also in the Moabite stone. It is likely that in the 10th century BCE, Dothan no longer existed and its place was taken by Ibleam, as arises from the archaeological findings, and can also be inferred from the testimonies in Joshua 17:11 and Judges 1:27-28, Profern Galil. Joshua 12:24, mentions the king of Jarmuth. A letter from the king of Jarmuth was found at Tel El-Hasi, Profern Zechariah Kalai. In the Torah, Numbers 13:29, and Joshua mentioned the kings of the Amorites. From the Amarna documents we learned that a specific region in the land was the kingdom of the Amorites, and its kings were called so, as Aharoni writes, the archaeology of the land of Israel in the biblical period. Joshua 15:41, mentions Beth Dagon in the territory of Asher. About the worship of Dagon in the Shephelah during this period there are Egyptian testimonies, as well as in the Amarna documents, Enos. 3:17-3:18, Encyclopedia of the Middle East, article Dagon. Saul's weapons were placed in the house of Ashtoreth in Ashdod, Samuel 1 hour 31 minute and 10 seconds, and while other biblical sources show that in Ashdod there was both a house of Dagon and a house of Ashtoreth. Indeed, in the excavations of Ashdod in the 5th layer dated to the 10th century BCE, 2 temples were discovered, the smaller one dedicated to Ashtoreth, and the larger one to Dagon. Dr. Pinchas Artsy, The Idol Dagon, on the DOT website. In Judges 3:3, it appears that the Philistines had a hold-up to the region of the Yarkon, and indeed, Aharoni writes, in the coastal plain, the Philistines arrived as indicated by the hints in the scriptures, and from archaeological research up to the Yarkon and beyond, the archaeology of the land of Israel in the biblical period. Generally, in the cities where the Philistines lived, according to the Bible, Philistine ceramics are common, atlas.mikra. Judges 1:36 describes the border of the Amorites. The border of the Amorites in this segment is the border of the Amorite kingdom in the region of Lebanon, well known to us from Egyptian sources from the New Kingdom period, Aharoni, Carta's Atlas for the biblical period. In Judges 3:8, Cushan Rishathaim, king of Aram is mentioned. He is identified with Yarshu, who ruled during this period in Aram Naharaim, and is mentioned in an Egyptian papyrus, and also appears as Cushan Aram in the lists of Ramses III, Professor Abraham Malamat. In Judges 2:13, the Baals and Ashtoreths are mentioned as the main Canaanite idolatry, and indeed this is evident from the writings of Philo of Byblos, who preserved the Canaanite tradition, Professor Shmuel Leonstam. In Judges 4:11, it is told about the Kenite who pitched his tent in Zananim. The name Kenite was discovered in an ancient Egyptian inscription as a Semitic tribe. Aharoni, History of the Land of Israel. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through the archaeological sites of the Canaanite conquest. We hope this episode has not only enlightened you, but also sparked a curiosity to learn more about the intertwining paths of archaeology and biblical narratives. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to keep up with our series, Land of History. For more detailed discussions and extra content, follow us on our social media platforms linked below. This is Historical Veracity, signing off until next time, where we'll continue to unveil the mysteries of Israel's ancient history. Keep questioning, keep exploring,